Could Notre Dame be joining the Big Ten? Like, what is going to happen once their TV contract expires in 2025? Dick Weiss from the New York Daily News tweeted this last weekend. He said Notre Dame wants $75 million annually in new media rights contract from longtime broadcast partner NBC. Existing deal currently worth around $22 million per year, slated to expire in 2025. And then he said, when was the last time the Irish won a title? Now, this stirred up a lot of talk about what NBC and the Irish are going to do, right? Notre Dame has had a contract with NBC dating back to 1991, but jumping from $22 million to $75 million per year, right after NBC signed, with the Big Ten to do a Big Ten game on Saturday nights, I am not so sure that NBC is going to be willing to pay it after agreeing to pay, like if I remember right, somewhere around like $350 million per season to the Big Ten. So the big thing here will be, what are Notre Dame's viewership numbers? Per Front Office Sports back in August, when all of this stuff initially came out, it was said that Notre Dame would want $75 million. There was another report about 60. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But either way, a report from November 2021 revealed viewership for Notre Dame's football games was down 48% year over year with an average of 2.5 million viewers. The team did, however, bring in a record streaming audience during the season. So I suppose if you're going to somebody that has a streaming platform, maybe that's good. In 2020, Notre Dame produced the most viewers that they've had since 2005. But the year before that, in 2019, viewership hit a record low for NBC with 2.1 million viewers on average. The best average viewership Notre Dame was able to put up was in the pandemic season, 2020, when they were undefeated in the regular season. They had the Clemson game at home on the same night that Joe Biden was announced the winner of the presidency, and it just so happened to be the season that they were actually playing in a conference. Something to think about. All in all, the numbers are actually pretty good. I mean, if you can average over 2 million per game against not great competition, I mean, that means that you are a major draw. And everybody obviously already knew this about Notre Dame, but is that worth $75 million a year to NBC? I mean, you were talking well over $10 million per game. Would it possibly be worth that to CBS, who also just signed their afternoon slots with the Big Ten? ABC and ESPN already have plenty of inventory, and they're not going to overpay for this, as evidenced by the Pac-12 situation, which we'll get to in just a little bit. But let's look at who Notre Dame already has on their home schedule going forward. You look at 2025, you got two monsters on there. You got Texas A&M and USC, but along with that, you got Purdue, Navy, NC State, and Syracuse. In 2026, nothing jaw-dropping. I mean, you got Virginia, Michigan State, and Syracuse, and while those are brands, I don't know what they're really worth. In 2027, you got Purdue, Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, and Navy. Okay. In 2028, Arkansas, Boston College, Clemson, and Miami, Florida. And in 2029, you've got Alabama, Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, and Navy. So in 2029, you've got a monster game against Alabama over the season. But opening weekend is going to have a ton of competition, which could hurt those numbers. Although I would expect a massive number regardless. Expectations are, of course, that it likely won't be Nick Saban roaming the sidelines for Alabama at that point. Although, I mean, who could say at this point? The USC series is not on the books past 2026 right now. Are there enough marquee home games to make the deal worth $75 million? I don't know that I can say that definitively right now. That they'll get back, they'll backfill to get to at least 6 home games each season. But the additional games are likely going to be ones like they've got for the next 2 seasons, right? At Tennessee State, Central Michigan, Miami of Ohio, Northern Illinois, etc. Like, not to mention the fact that it may be more difficult to schedule marquee P5 games with all the scheduling changes coming up in the future. SEC potentially moving to 9 conference games, etc. An idea that maybe could help Notre Dame, and you guys are going to love this, maybe the Pac-12, might be for some of them to sign, or maybe just the conferences to sign some kind of agreement so that, teams like Oregon, Washington, Utah, etc. could all play against the Irish. It would create some more interesting matchups for both of them, right? If you do home and homes with these teams year in and year out, that could help. If Notre Dame wants their schedule to be appealing enough to get a big contract, like the $75 million that they want, they're going to need bigger names. I can almost guarantee that Fox and ESPN will not be interested. But if CBS and NBC are in the game, does new Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti talk with NBC and CBS about making it clear to Notre Dame that they are going to be better off joining the Big Ten. And after the initial report last fall about the Irish wanting $75 million per season, Sports Business Journal is who reported that they are likely to fetch around $60 million per year. Is that enough for Notre Dame to stay relevant and competitive? I think so. I think that they would likely take that, even if it means that they're giving up a chunk of cash to join the Big Ten. Although, we've reached a point where there are enough entities involved that could be pushing Notre Dame to join a conference. And while everybody is focused on the Irish potentially joining the Big Ten, and of course how certain ACC teams are going to try and get out of their deal to join with the SEC or the Big Ten, are we sure that the ACC wouldn't be able to renegotiate their current deal with Disney if they were to pull in Notre Dame and one other school? Like at this point in the realignment circus, I don't know that anything is off the table. But if you could get the ACC to $50 million a year, something like that, would that be worth more to Notre Dame? Like, will Notre Dame even be able to get 60? That's the question. If they can get 60, then they're not going to the ACC. If they can get 70, is it better for them to join the Big Ten? There's a lot at stake here. We're going to see what this looks like over the next couple of years. Thanks for listening to Winning Cures Everything. Make sure and follow me on Twitter @GaryWCE. If you want to toss in a question, you can email me Gary@winningcureseverything.com. Make sure and hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.